A very fine morning, my dear students. Hope you all will be fine by the grace of God. Today, we will continue with the same chapter, that is, chapter number 5 of Science 1. Children, we will continue this session with the some important contents that contents are dew point and humidity, unit of heat, specific heat capacity, heat exchange, etc. But before starting today's session, let us recall what we have studied in our previous lecture. In our previous lecture, we have studied about latent heat, regulation, anomalous behavior of water, etc. So, let us start here our explanation part. So, children, we are to start from this point, dew point and humidity. So, first of all, we will see here that what is dew. In rainy, when the atmosphere is humid, mostly in rainy season, that time you might have seen that somewhere if we'll touch, then we can see the dew drops. So now here we will see that 71% of the earth is covered with the water only, and this water is evaporating constantly. So water vapor is always present in the atmosphere, and when the amount of this water vapor in the atmosphere is present, it helps us to understand the weather. Now we'll see that presence of water vapor in the air makes the weather moist. So the moisture which is present in the atmosphere, that is called humidity. So children, this point you have to note down. This is important. What is humidity? That question may come. So for a given volume of the air at a specific temperature, there is a limit. For everything there is a limit. So same way here for the if given volume is there, so in that if we'll see at a specific temperature, at a certain temperature, there is a limit of water vapor in the air. But if the amount of this limit exceeds, then what will happen? That excess of water vapor convert into water droplets. So when this air contain maximum possible water vapor, it is said that it is saturated, or the air is saturated with the vapor at that temperature. So this point you have to note down. The amount of water vapor needed to saturate the air depends on the temperature of the air. So if the temperature is low, then what will happen? That it will need less vapor to saturate. Now for example, we can see that if temperature of air is 40 degrees centigrade, then it can contain only 49 grams of the water vapor per kilogram of dry air. So this also you have to underline, children. This you have to underline. So if the amount of water vapor exceeds this limit, then what will happen? That additional vapors will condense. So the temperature, if we'll take the temperature of the air is 20 degree, in first case we have taken 40 degree. Now if we'll consider the temperature of air is 20 degree, so it can contain only 14.7 gram of the water vapor per kilogram of dry air without condensing. Now if the vapor contained in air is less than that of the maximum limit, the air is said to be unsaturated. That means if the vapors which are present in the air that are less than the whatever its limit, then we tell that it is unsaturated, and if up to limit, then it is saturated. Now, uh, suppose that unsaturated air at a certain temperature is taken and its temperature is decreased. So what will happen, that a temperature is reached at which the air becomes saturated with the vapor. So this temperature is called dew point temperature. This is very important, you have to underline. Now, the vapor content in the air is measured using a physical quantity that is called absolute humidity. And so this point also underline what is absolute humidity. It will help you. So the mass of the vapor which is present in a unit volume of the air. Unit volume mean we have to take 1 cc, that is the unit volume. So in the unit volume, generally absolute humidity is measured in the kilogram per meter cube. So the feeling of humid or dry nature of the air, it not only depend on the amount of vapor in the air, but also depend on how close that amount is for making the air saturated. Already I told that what is saturated air and what is unsaturated. So uh, it means that it depend on the temperature of the air also. So the ratio of actual mass of vapors which are present in the air for a given volume and the temperature to that required to make the air saturated with vapor at that temperature is called the relative humidity. So how we can remove the relative percentage of the relative humidity? It will be equal to actual mass of water vapor content in the air in a given volume upon mass of vapor needed to make the air saturated in that volume multiplied by 100. So this formula will help you to do the numerical problem, and this you have to underline. What is relative humidity? It may be asked, it is important. Now children, we'll see that the relative humidity at dew point is 100 degree. If the relative humidity is more than 60 degree, we feel that air is humid. And if the relative humidity is less than 60 degree, we feel that air is dry. So this is very important point, that when we feel the air is humid and when we feel air is dry. Now during winter season, you might have observed that uh, if a plane is flying, then a trail is observed. Trail mean like one line type. So that trail is there, that is formed by the vapors which are released by the aeroplane engine, and they condense and form a cloud shape. If surrounding air is having more relative humidity, it takes a long time for white trail. That trail is white in color, so it takes the long time to form the white trail. If surrounding air is having more relative humidity, so it is formed by the condensation. Condensation means whenever the water vapor again change into the water, this is condensation. Already in lower standard you have studied what is condensation. So it disappear and relative humidity of the surrounding air is less. Either the size of the white trail may be small or it may not even get formed. So sometimes this trail may not be formed, or sometimes it may be small if relative humidity of the surrounding air is less than that time. So now children, here two activity are given. This you have to write in your rough book, because these are observation and these are activity for you. So you have to whatever you feel, you do this activity. Whatever you feel, that you have to write your own answer. Now we will see, though these two observation, we sense the presence of water vapor in the atmosphere. Whatever these two activity you will do, what you observe, that you see, according to them, it is that we sense that presence of water vapor in the atmosphere. Now, when air cools due to decrease in temperature, it becomes saturated with the water vapor. So, the excess water vapor gets converted into small droplets. So, the how the droplets are formed? That the excess water vapor are converted into small droplets. The dew point temperature is decided by the amount of vapor in the air. So, now we'll see the unit of heat. This is also very important point. The unit of heat are joule in SI system. SI already you have studied, international system, and calorie in CGS system. That is centimeters gram second. So this system you have studied in lower standard also. So here we'll see the amount of heat which is necessary to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree centigrade, that is 14.5 degree centigrade to 15.5 degree centigrade. That is called 1 calorie heat. Same way, the amount of heat which is necessary to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree, that is from 14.5 degree centigrade to 15.5 degree centigrade. That is called 1 kilocalorie heat. So 1 kilocalorie is equal to 1000 calorie. Now we'll see here that if 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree, if we heat 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree centigrade in different temperature range, then 14.5 degree centigrade to 15.5 degree centigrade, the amount of heat required will be slightly different. So it is very important to define a specific temperature range when we are defining the unit of heat. So when we are defining the unit of heat, it is must to define the specific temperature. Now calorie and joule, these are relative by which relation? That 1 calorie is equal to 4.18 joule. So this is also very important. You have to learn it, as well as it will help you in the numerical problems. Now children, this introduction to scientists is cancelled for you. Now specific heat capacity we will see. For that we have to do one experiment, children. So what is that experiment? First of all, I'll make you understand, then you see a video. In that specific heat, we have to take a tray. In that we have to form a thick layer of the wax, and we have to take 3 solid sphere. This solid sphere will be of different material like iron, lead and copper, but their mass will be equal. We have to take a burner or split lamp and large beaker. So what we have to do, that these 3 spheres of iron, copper and lead of equal mass, we have to put all these 3 spheres in separate vessels in boiling water in the beaker for some time, and then after that we have to remove this and we have to put in the wax. So all spheres are at the temperature of 100 degree. Now when we put on the thick slab of wax, then we have to see that how much depth they can go inside the wax, and that we have to observe. We will see that iron ball or iron sphere goes maximum deepest, then lead goes the minimum or least, and the copper goes intermediate, when in between. So from this we can understand that for equal rise in the temperature, the 3 spheres have absorbed different amount of the heat. That is why they are going at deepest or different length of the deep inside the wax. So this property is called the specific heat capacity. Now the amount of the heat energy required to raise the temperature of a unit mass of an object by 1 degree centigrade is called the specific heat of that object. the property which determines the amount of heat absorbed by sphere. That is, this you have to underline, and this you have to learn. It is very important. Then you have to learn this. This is also very important. So now children, we will see that the specific heat capacity is denoted by letter C. So the SI unit for specific heat is joule degree centigrade per kilogram, joule per degree centigrade kilogram, and the CGS unit is calorie gram degree centigrade. Now here is one table, children. Here the different now children, here the different things specific heat are given. So you can see here the waters, it is 1.0, paraffin 0.54, like that for kerosene, aluminium, iron, copper, silver, mercury, all are given. So you have to just learn this table. Now if specific heat of an object is C, the mass of the object is m, and if the temperature of the object is raised by delta T, this triangle, small triangle, is delta T degree centigrade, the heat energy absorbed by the object is given by mc delta T. So this is also important, and this also you have to learn. Now same way, if the specific heat of an object is C, the mass of the object is m, and the temperature of the object is decreased by delta T degree, then heat energy is lost by the object will be again m into C into delta T. Now children, I'll show you one video that you have to see. Children, first see this video, dew point and humidity, that already explained you. Just see the video, you will understand in better way. Here you can see that they are taken ice cubes in a beaker, and after some time the water vapors or water droplets they can see. In the moist air also the water vapors are present. Due to that the humidity is there. Let us here first they check the temperature. According to that we come to know that how much humid atmosphere is there if we will check the temperature at certain time intervals. See saturated air with the water vapor, here it is shown, and water vapors are shown which are present in the air. Down you can see that water is this water vapors are condensed and liquid water is there. Then temperature at which the air becomes saturated with the vapor, that is noted with the thermometer. Now in the unsaturated air, already I explained what is unsaturated air and what is saturated air. Here again this thermometer is taken and measuring the amount of water vapors which are present in the air. This is mass of the vapor present in the unit volume of the air, that is absolute humidity, which is measured in the kilogram per meter cube. Here with the help of this they are showing relative humidity. Again saturated air with the water vapor is there. Relative humidity is equal to actual mass of vapors in the given amount of air at given temperature upon maximum mass of vapors needed to make the air saturated at that temperature into 100. That already you have studied. So they are showing how the relative humidity is there at temperature 10 degree and here at 20 degree. At 10 degree they are showing as if it is here relative humidity is 100% and at 20 degree relative humidity is 50%. Here you can see in the sphere the air and water vapors are present. If the relative humidity is more than 60 degree, then what will happen? The air is humid. So this way we can see. Children, you can see here how the specific heat capacity is measured. It is that experiment just now I explained you that 3 spheres we have to take made up of iron, in between copper is there, and the last one is the lead. Now see, they have first kept in the boiled water. Now they have kept in the wax slab. See now how they are going deep inside. Already I told you the iron sphere goes maximum, it penetrates maximum, and the copper will be at the intermediate position and the lead will be least. It is the same activity just I explained in the explanation. So which is going maximum, that absorb maximum heat, and which is going less, that absorb less heat. Due to that the wax get melted, then only they go deep inside. So if the spheres are made up of different metals, so they'll show the different type of the that much deepest they will go according to the metal which is from which the sphere is made. Now the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of unit mass, that we can see here, this already I explained you, that this first experiment you have seen here, that the amount of heat energy which is required to raise the temperature of a unit mass of that substance by 1 degree is called the specific heat capacity. Now the second one we'll see that the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature, this they are showing how experimentally. So these two videos are there to just explain you that how we can remove this. Here the unit is also given in SI system and CTS system. So now we'll see, children, this heat exchange. If the heat is exchanged between a hot and cold object, then what will happen, that the hot object, it is but natural, you have studied lower standard also, that hot object will give the heat to the cold object. When the both will have the same amount, then the exchange of the heat will stop. So the change in the temperature, here we can see that if the heat is exchanged between a hot and cold object, the temperature of the cold object goes on increasing, and due to gain of energy, while the temperature of hot object goes on decreasing, because here the loss of energy is there. So the change in temperature continues till the temperature of both the object attain the same value. In this process, we can see that the cold object gain the heat energy while the hot object lose the energy. So if this system, both the objects, hot object and cold object, they are kept in such a box which is known as resistance box. What is the meaning of resistant box? That means the outer energy cannot go inside and inner energy will not go outside. So that means no exchange of the energy will be there between the outer surface and the inner atmosphere and the outer atmosphere. So in this situation, what we will get, that the heat energy which is lost by the hot object, we can see here this point, that the heat energy, this point we have to see, heat energy lost by the hot object will be equal to heat energy gained by the cool object. This is called the principle of heat exchange. Now we'll see the measurement of specific heat by mixing method and calorimeter. So the specific heat is the specific heat of an object can be measured by using mixing method. For this, the calorimeter is used. So calorimeter in lower standard, it is already you have studied in A standard and all. So we'll see here that this calorimeter, if hot solid object is put inside the water in a calorimeter, we have to take in that calorimeter we have to take water. If this hot solid object is put inside the water in calorimeter, the heat exchange will take place between the hot heat object and the water. So water is here cold. What water we have taken, that is cold. So the object which we kept, that is hot. So the exchange of the heat will take place. So how we can remove it? That heat lost by the solid object. Here we can see, children, these points. Heat object of the solid object, heat lost by the solid object will be equal to heat gained by the water in calorimeter plus heat gained by the calorimeter. So here what heat lost by the solid object, that is denoted by Q, that is equal to mass of the solid object into its specific heat into decrease in its temperature. Same way we can remove this one. We can see this, that heat gained by the water Q equal to mass of the water into its specific heat into increase in its temperature. Heat gained by the calorimeter Q2 will be equal to mass of the calorimeter into its specific heat into increase in its temperature. So heat lost by the hot object will be equal to heat gained by the calorimeter plus heat gained by the water. Therefore, if we want to remove the Q, so that will be equal to Q2 plus Q1. Using this equation, if the specific heat of water and calorimeter are known, the specific heat of the solid object can be calculated. Now children, here some numerical are given. One I'll explain and the rest you have to do in the rub book 2-3 times. If any doubt, you can ask me. How much heat energy is necessary to raise the temperature of 5 kg of water from 20 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade? So here M is given how much? 5 kg. You can see here M is given 5 kg. And C is given 1 kilocalorie per kilogram degree centigrade. And the change in temperature, that is delta T, is 100 minus 20, that is 80 degree. So energy to be supplied to water is equal to energy gained by the water, and that will be equal to mass of the water into specific heat of water into change in temperature of the water. So with the formula M into C into delta T, we can remove we have to put the value 5 into 80 degrees centigrade, it will be 400 kilocalorie. So we can see that the heat energy necessary to raise the temperature of water is 400 kilocalorie. Now children, whatever numerical or this solve numerical, you have to solve in your rub book 2 times, because these are already solved. So if any problem, you can your doubt you can clear by texting me. Thank you children. Here I am ending my lecture, and whatever notes are there, that you have to complete, and complete your journal also, as well as your assignment. The last date already I told you everyone's date you have to bring, otherwise you'll not get that marks for the assignment. Thank you, children.